Lovely. Hello and welcome. Today I'd like to talk to you all about Murdoch and Co.'s markings and serials. This is a huge part of our history and heritage and our mission, so I really look forward to explaining what all these details mean, because it really helps tell the story of not only our company, our mission, but also the amount of detail that we put into our products. So first off is of course going to be our coat of arms. Our coat of arms is proudly worn on everything from our logo to our products. The Murdoch & Co coat of arms is that of the Murdoch family crest, which is traditionally two crows or ravens holding a single arrow. Behind this is on a shield, and our logo in particular is on a field of blue with gold outlines, or azure if you want to be more medieval. So the symbolism within that, we have a helmet and we also have a plume surrounding, and the plumes would be off the helmets of knights to identify them during combat and tournaments. These, of course, blue and gold or white also is Murdoch & Co.'s color, which you'll be seeing shortly. The particular type of helmet is a great helm, and this was not quite for nobility, but a highly trained man-at-arms. So your frog helmets and your other types of jousting helmets would be more for that nobility. The great helm in particular symbolizes the man-at-arms, or a very skilled or marshaled man-at-arms, that being a gentleman almost equivalent to a sergeant or a lieutenant in the military. He's highly trained, he's got a great group of soldiers beneath him, but he's not of that royal status. Again, the great helm also has a religious significance, as they were used during the Crusades as well. So coming down from here, we have the shield. Obviously the shield is a combat type. I forgot the name of it there, but it's a semi-oval shield, and it again used on the field of battle. The shield shapes can mean a lot also. So the crows, of course, the coat of arms and one arrow. The story goes that one of the great descendants of the Murdoch family was out in a hunting pheasants up in Scotland, or pheasant, excuse me, up in Scotland. And basically he was hunting, and as they were riding next to each other, coming upon a forest, there were two crows nested. And one of the gentlemen, or the gentleman that Murdoch was hunting with, said, I bet you can't, kill two birds or hit those ravens with an arrow. And lo and behold, he fires the arrow and it strikes two birds with one arrow. So actually, one where we get the saying two birds with one stone comes from the Murdoch family, but also obviously in that story as well. It was in that moment that the Murdoch family motto was said, which is with best luck or the most luck. In Latin, that does escape me now, I apologize. But we don't have that on our coat of arms here at Murdoch & Co, because although obviously we represent our particular family of Murdochs, we didn't want to one-for-one take that motto, as that belongs to everyone with a Murdoch surname. Murdoch & Co.'s motto is, of course, reflects our mission, which is British heritage made in the USA. So that's the history behind the logo, the two crows, the one arrow, the helmet, the plume. Everything has a meaning. And that's how we bring our British heritage here to the USA. So with that comes our markings. So on Murdoch & Co products, you'll see two types of markings. The first is our maker's mark. So throughout history, the maker's mark comes from European tradition of blacksmiths, bowyers, carpenters, stonemasons, monks as well, joiners. Anyone who makes something is going to have a maker's mark. And what's amazing is when you look at churches and stonework in particular, because this is where it tends to survive unless you get up close at an armories collection, you can at the Tower of London see a lot of, and Imperial War Museums and Royal Armories, see tiny stamps of maker marks. And everyone had one. Every single maker had a mark that they put on their armor, going back all the way to Roman times and even prior. But particularly in Europe, it did become a point of pride, especially as the Italians started exporting armor to Europe, the English, the Germans. Different zones got known for different steel, different types, techniques. And so to have your maker's mark on something became something that was really important. And actually it became law in around about the 12th century throughout Europe. And a lot of countries implemented marking laws for their weapons and armor. One, to deviate quality, and two, to track them in times of war, getting them off the dead, or even mercenary armies. You kind of figure out where they were getting their armor from. So if they had maker's marks of a baron you didn't like, well, that could be a good indicator. So the maker mark is a really, really important thing, and even today, European firearms manufacturers are required to mark them with a maker's mark. Brands such as HK have their mark. Purdy, Holland & Holland. A lot of famous European brands are required to have this maker mark on their rifle. And even though Murdoch & Co isn't required, ATF serialization doesn't count. That's not a maker's mark. We're talking about an actual piece of detailed symbolism that represents what the brand stands for. So Murdoch & Co we have our maker's mark that is going to be taken from our coat of arms. It's going to be obviously the shield, the great helm with the flowing plume, with our MC in the middle in Old English type text. So signifying Murdoch and Company. We're really proud to put that on all of our products. So when a product is made, it's going to receive that maker's mark. From there, we're going to get our inspection marks. So the inspection mark is something different. The inspection mark is only put on when the product passes inspection. I know, had to say it. But that's important because how this has happened throughout history has been really fascinating. The first early maker's marks were actually dents in the armor. So if you got issued brand new plate armor or shield or whatever it might be, and it didn't have any dents in it, you knew not to accept it. In fact, the acceptance mark of a good piece of armor was they would pierce it with either an arrow or they would hit it with a blunt force trauma blade like a poleaxe or a hammer. And that dent would prove that that armor actually worked. If the armor didn't have a dent in it, if it didn't have a dent showing without cracking, all these sorts of things, then you knew not to buy it. Same with swords. So swords, you look for certain amounts of flexibility, and again, sharpness, how it can hold an edge, and they'll do that on test targets, and then they'll stamp it next to the maker's mark and inspection mark, showing that that sword, again, is of good quality and you can purchase it. Well, we carry on the same tradition here at Murdoch & Co. So when the barrel's put in, set, head spaced, the gas system's calibrated, the springs are checked, everything is done, all the function checks. We have a big 10-step process that every single gun will go through and does go through. It's going to receive, at the end of firing, of up to 60 rounds. We're not quite sure what our test firing regiment's going to be for production guns. It's not going to be less than 30, somewhere in that 100 range. So we want to make sure that they use, but of course we want to make sure you get a brand new product also. So depending on what the test regime is, each rifle will be tested. We're not testing one of a random batch. If you purchase a product from us, it will be tested. It's going to be thoroughly cleaned and inspected afterwards, but during and after that cleaning and inspection process, it will proudly receive its Murdoch & Co inspection mark. And the inspection mark for Murdoch & Co is going to be 2 crossed arrows, 1 arrow indicating each of the crows on our coat of arms. So if a Murdoch & Co product has a maker's mark, it's just either on the production line or it's a defect and it didn't pass inspection, therefore it's going to become a deactivated gun or kept in our collection. And if it has a inspection mark and a coat of arms, you know that that is a good Murdoch & Co weapon to use. Other parts of the firearm will have inspection marks on them, things like hammers, bolts, carriers, things of that nature. Will also carry this symbolism, and that's our way of inspecting that product and making sure that you're getting the highest quality, again, hand-inspected product. So how did we come up with these designs? Really importantly, Murdoch & Co is a zero AI company. All the designs and everything you see here at this company is made by a human. So be that it was thought up in my mind or one of our artists, then drawn into a concept and then refined and accepted. Even our maker's mark, our coat of arms, everything was done by a human. So many logos these days are done by AI. There's so much AI marketing and imagery. Quite frankly, the reason things are a little bit raw here at Murdoch & Co is because they're 100% genuine. And that's something that I myself am really proud of. As we go into a world that is overtaken by AI, I want to be a brand that you can come to and it's human. It would be folly of me to say we represent history, but not do things in a classical, historical, and traditional way. So our way of doing that, markings and insignia. But again, everything we do here is highly detailed and oriented towards that goal of bringing British heritage to the USA. Well, that's all I have. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you again for your support. Go and look out for our items. Look out for our markings if you see a Murdoch and Co. When you field strip it, enjoy finding all the details as you discover and own our products. Thank you again so much for your time, and until next time, take care.